Welcome. Today, me and Ridley are going to be playing Photosynthesis. And so Ridley is over there. He's all ready to go, and so am I. Now, this is a really cool game. As you can see, there are trees, and they're like, really cool looking, put together and all that. And so let's just go over some of the basic rules to start with before we get started on the game. So these are the victory points here, and the only way you're actually ever going to get these is once you've cut down the largest tree, basically. Now, in order to cut down the largest tree, you also must be able to have a large tree. And you can never upgrade your trees more than once per tree. So I can't upgrade from a seedling to a large tree all in the same turn, all in the same round. Now, everyone is going to start with 2 of these little ones. That's all we get to start with. We each get 2 of these, and one of these is already collapsed on me. But they're easy to put it back together with 2 hands. But you only get 2 of these, and you don't get to start with this big one here, the medium-sized one. Just 2 of these. And so then on your turn, if you have enough light energy, you can turn your trees, basically, and make them bigger. Now, if you look at this board here, this is your light energy chart, and you always start at 0 with the light energy. And so on the first turn, you're not going to have any light energy, so you can't purchase or upgrade anything here, obviously. So on the first turn, you're actually going to just score a couple of light points is all you're really going to score. So you're going to have to, obviously, wait a couple of rounds before you really are able to really do much of anything. Now, first of all, in order to upgrade a tree, if you're upgrading from a seed, it's going to cost you 1 energy to upgrade to a small tree. It's going to cost you 2 energy to upgrade to a medium tree. For the medium tree to grow into a large tree, it's going to cost you 3 energy. And then, if you chop down a large tree, it's going to cost you 4 energy, and then you're going to get a victory token, depending on where the tree was on the board that you chopped down. Now, this here also indicates seeds. So, in order to get more trees, you're going to actually have to plant seeds. And that's going to cost you an energy to do so. Now, since this is the only tree you start with, your seed is always going to go only 1 circle away from your tree. So if your tree was here, the seed could only go here, here, or here. But once your tree gets bigger, and you decide to plant a seed from a medium tree, then you can do it up to 2 spaces away. And if it's a large tree, the seed can go up to 3 spaces away. So that's something to note. Now, another thing here to note is, in order to get these big trees, you first have to purchase them. So, not just simply having a medium tree is enough. If you do not have one of these large trees over here in your personal inventory, so this is like your personal inventory, this is what you own already. So if you have a large tree in here and you have a medium tree on the board, then it will become, once you have enough light energy, you can turn it into a large tree. But if you have no large trees and they're all sitting here on this board, then you'll also have to purchase them first. So not only will you have to spend energy to grow the tree into a large tree, but you'll also have to purchase the large tree. And this little thing here is a 4. So it's going to cost you 4 energy to get that. It's going to cost you 3 energy to get another medium tree, because you only start with 1. So you're going to need more, obviously. It's going to cost you 2 energy for a small tree, and it's going to cost you 2 light energy for a seed. Now, I've got the pine trees, and I think Ridley over there has the maple trees. And so that's kind of how that all works. And another way you'll get victory points in this game is at the end of the game, if you still have some light energy available that you didn't end up using, depending on where it is here on this chart, will depend on how many extra victory points you'll get. But the most you'll ever get is 6. Also, if you end up getting more, let's say your light energy is already over here on 20, and you just got some more light energy, well, you don't get the excess, meaning that's all energy you've just lost. So it's important to use your light energy. If it starts getting too high, you should go back down to, you should start using it to go back down towards 0. Because otherwise, you're going to obviously have too much light energy. And that won't be good for you at all. But maybe it will be at the end of the game for some extra victory points. Assuming, of course, you don't end up using it, some of the light energy towards the end of the game. Now, the sun, this is the sun here. And it's going to rotate around the board several times, about up to 3 times. And once it's done rotating 3 times, game over. So it's going to go around, and there's a couple of spots where it's going to go. It's going to go, it starts there, then it's going to go here, then it's going to go here, then it's going to go over here, and then it's going to go over here, and it's going to go over here, and then it's going to go back to here, and that's one full round. So there's going to be about 6 turns in each round, and up to 3 rounds for 2 players. So that can kind of estimate how much time you have before you run out of time. You're going to want to try to get some large trees out so you can get tons of light energy, but chopping them down right away may not always be the best option. But since you can only have 2 large trees anyway, max, eventually, once you start getting some more medium trees out, and you've already got 2 large trees out, then it's a good idea to chop one down, and then eventually turn that medium tree into a large tree, probably next turn, if not the same turn, depending on how much energy you have. Now, here's another thing to note. It's not going to happen with these large trees, because there's only 2 of them anyway. But as you can see, there's only a room for 3 trees in this bank here of trees. And you have 1 medium tree over here. If, at some point in the game, when you upgrade a tree, so let's say you upgrade the medium tree to a large tree, well, that medium tree has to come back to the bank. And as you can see, there are 3 trees in the bank, and there could be no more than 3 trees. So this medium tree here, if it was on the board, and then you decided to upgrade it, or grow it into a large tree, it has to come back to this board here. But it's full. There's no room for this. So if that was the case, this would get thrown in the trash for the rest of the game. You would not have access to this tree. And so you could easily run out of trees in the game and not have enough to really, score a ton of points. So that is something to note. You should always buy some of this stuff, including the seeds, because you'll lose seeds too in the same way. So you're going to obviously want to purchase some of these, at least keep one row empty from here to here. At least 1 row. So that way, if you decide to upgrade and you forget, oh, do I have anything here? Well, then if this is all empty on the first row, so if this first one is gone, and this one is gone, and this one is gone, then there's a good chance that you'll be able to put something back without losing anything. But that is something to note, that you could possibly lose what you have access to. You don't want to lose too much. Sometimes it's unavoidable. There are some things that you can miss out on, running out of. But you don't want to come down to the point where you have no seeds left and then can't grow anything anymore. So you want to make sure you don't want to lose too many seeds. Maybe 1 seed at most, or 2 seeds at most. Maybe 2 of these at most. But you should never lose more than that, ever. Otherwise, it's going to be tough for you. While the other players are doing very well, you're not going to be doing so well. Another thing to note, since it can be easy to get carried away and get a ton of trees out thinking you're going to score a ton of points. But in this game, the big trees block the small trees. So if the sun is over here and you have a tall tree here and it's the tallest, then it's going to block some spaces in this direction. And if you have a small tree, even if it's yours, it's not going to get any sun. And therefore, it's not going to score you any light points. So having too many of your own trees isn't a very good strategy. You should limit the amount of trees you have. You don't want to have too many out. It'd be better to focus on getting the larger trees out as fast as possible and then chop them down for some victory points. And then get some more large trees out, get some points, chop them down for some victory points. Rather than, now if this game was maybe 5 rounds long, yeah, maybe that would be a valid strategy, getting a ton of trees out and then growing them all at the same time, chopping down a couple of trees all in the same turn, getting tons of victory points. But that's not going to be a valid strategy for this game. So that's something to note, to not get too carried away. I remember playing this very first time. I played this with some friends, and I kept my strategy simple: get a few trees out, grow them, get them big, chop them down, get some victory points. Another friend, he had so many trees out, half the time the son would be in a position where none of his trees would get any points, and sometimes he'd get 0 points. While everybody else was getting like 10 or 12 points, he'd be getting 0. And so that wasn't a very valid strategy for him. And then the game ended abruptly, and he really didn't get a hold of any victory points either. And so he lost in a big way. So now we learned something from that. His strategy did not work for this game. And so that's what you should focus on. Now, we're going to get started in the next video.